everybody. Welcome back to the Resistance broadcast. It is time for TRB Live. I am John. Thank you so much for joining us on this Thursday evening for the last time in a while. And the only reason for that is because the Acolyte is coming on Tuesday, and we're changing our schedule up a bit. We'll get to that in just a moment. But before I do that, Lacey, are you ready for all the predictions that we're going to lay out on this show tonight?
I feel like you're going to have way more than me because compared to all other Star Wars shows, I'm going into this kind of fresh. Like I don't want to overthink it because I really want to enjoy the process of seeing it and like how the story goes. I don't want to be disappointed or go in with certain expectations. I'm going in a little fresh, but I am pumped to talk about stuff and like come up with ideas and pitch what I think based on what we've seen from marketing. But I wouldn't say I'm going wild with the speculation on this one.
Okay. Yeah. So this is our last shot. I love wondering and speculating and letting my imagination go crazy in the lead up to these shows and movies, because I don't hang on to those when I see the show and the movie, and I don't get mad if those things don't happen. So I go crazy with it all, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You know, what are you going to do? But we will get to that later as our main discussion. So we are going to get into predictions, our final speculation, all that good stuff. And we're going to read yours that you submitted in Resistance Transmissions at the end of the show. Some funny ones, some serious ones, a lot of good picks there. So stay tuned for that. If you want your comment read on the show, we are not doing Ask the Resistance tonight, but we do have super chats available. So if you want to support us that way, thank you very much, and you'll get your comment read on the show. So we appreciate those very much. But we hope you just have a good time, whether you're joining us live or on your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much. We appreciate you being a part of the Resistance broadcast. If you are new to TRB, welcome to the base. Always a good time. We love having fun talking about Star Wars, and we welcome you on your favorite app. So subscribe, tell your friends, whether that's Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Come on board and let's have a good time. Lacey,
I do want to say something really quickly though, because I don't think this is in the notes, so I want to bring it up. Someone brought it up in the chat. Star Wars Steve brought up Make Solo 2 happen and how it was trending last week.
It was, yeah. We didn't do a organized Make Solo 2 happen day this year. We don't feel like it's necessary to do a dedicated day necessarily. But people on the anniversary were tweeting about it, and it happened to once again go viral, so to speak, and trend on its own, which was a surprise to us and very cool to see. And it shows that people still do love that movie and support it. So,
and we do too. We haven't given up hope. We're still keeping it alive. You know, when we saw Jonas in Anaheim, he told us, like, keep it going, guys, keep it alive. Like, I truly believe in this. I know you do too. Now he's been a little busier from the last time we saw him. With Kel Naka coming up, but I really hope to see him as Chewbacca again. I'm sure we're going to see it in the Rey movie, but I want to see him with Han Solo again. So hopefully we get that. But
that would be,
it was really awesome to see everybody's tweets and comments and tagging us in posts, and you know, to get a text from John being like, it's trending. I was like, what? And it was it was trending on social media again. And it's one of those things that there are so many people talking about it that have never engaged with us, never known about this campaign, just that they want it to happen. And I saw people talking about, I believe Joe Ritchie, one of our patrons, what up, Joe, was talking about how he was in a store or something wearing a shirt, and multiple people came up to him and were like, I love that. I want that.
Yeah.
Like they were having the John Hoey New York Comic-Con experience.
Yeah, that's the one shirt when I wear it. Star Wars fans like will point and be like, yeah, you know? Really cool. Every once in a while you get someone like, that movie sucked. And you're like, I hope you have a happier day.
Yeah. But, so I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did want to bring that up because I thought it was such a fun thing that happened that we didn't really discuss or talk about.
It's great. Yeah. And we are going to keep that going because I still think they can make something that'd be really cool. And, you know, you see all these announcements of all these other, shows being greenlit, like Vision for Marvel and stuff, and it's like you're trying to tell me you can't do a war with crime syndicates on Disney Plus with all those characters, and it wouldn't just rush it? It would.
Straight bananas. It's bananas.
But yeah, so for us, we announced it on social media. For those of you smart folks who stay away from that, we are here to reveal that starting Wednesday, for the entire run of the Acolyte, we are presenting our new live show, Aco Night, the Acolyte after show. Sort of like, I see it as sort of like a dark side nightclub with a lot of sinister fun that we're going to have in the style and feel of like the Mando fan show with a dark side twist. So we're going to have guests, we're going to have giveaways, we're going to do a new weekly code contest that's going to be more in the spirit of a Sith holocron instead of a bounty, to take the shape and form of spirit of what we're doing here with the Acolyte. But yeah, Aco Night debuts Wednesday, June 5th, 8:30 p.m. East, right here on youtube.com/@TRB podcasts. And of course, the following morning, Thursday morning, on all of your favorite audio podcast apps. It's going to be a great time, and we can't wait to get that started. Right, Lacey?
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. I feel like it's giving me excuses to like be okay to wear black all the time. Maybe a red lipstick. We're vibing. We're figuring it out.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to. So the first, as we usually do with those shows, the first week's just going to be me and Lacey, and then starting with, I assume they'll call it Chapter 3, Part 3, whatever the one comes out on June 11th.
Yes.
We will have our
start
first
with our guests, and we do have someone lined up.
Yep.
They haven't confirmed the date yet, but they have said yes.
Right.
So stay tuned. We're really excited for some new people, some people to return.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Clayton's going to show up at some point, so let's just be honest about that one. But
yeah, we still have to promote that book he wrote.
Yeah, Clayton, what happened?
We're behind.
I don't know if we're behind, but no, we have guests coming. We're really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can I also make a really quick plug? Sorry, I keep cutting you off. I'm so sorry. People in the reviews say that I cut you off all the time, and I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. I also want to mention that those of you that are interested in joining our Patreon community at patreon.com/TRB podcasts, next week, or 2 weeks from now, on the 12th, we will be doing a Spice Run chat with Neil, one of our representatives that went to the Acolyte premiere, to talk all about the experience and all about what he thinks of the show so far. So if you're digging the whole Acolyte thing, you can get extra content if you join our Patreon as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, we do want to, give another shout out. I mean, we posted the threads of the photos and stuff, but due to varying personal circumstances, Lacey and I could not attend the Acolyte premiere event, whatever they actually called it.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking, to be honest, but
yeah, so
life happens.
Hopefully next time life is a bit clearer for the both of us.
Yeah.
But on our behalf, we were able to send 2 people that we care about deeply, members of the TRB community, Neil and Danny. So thank you to both them, and we know that they had such a great time, so I'm very happy for them that they were able to represent TRB as they did and have a night to remember. So but yeah, Patreon for sure. We are doing more content than ever, and I don't know how. Now that's it's 2 of us.
I don't sleep.
The machine is rolling. So patreon.com/TRB podcasts, and support just starts at $5 if you're able to. That's great. Check out the tiers. We have a Discord server at tier 3 and up, tier 2 and up, and a lot of other cool stuff. Some of which Lacey just alluded to. But let's get after it here. I don't know if people know about this or not, but real quick, I just wanted to say, if you didn't know yet, they are doing some scattered screenings at theaters of the Acolyte on June 3rd, so the day before it comes out. None by us here in Connecticut, but check your Fandango, I believe is the one operating that. So check Fandango and put in your zip code and see. Maybe there's a theater near you. You can go see Acolyte a day early on the big screen. Check it out. All right, Lacey, news time. So let's hear from old Harrison Ford.
It's the resistance.
It is the resistance. It's so gruff. Harrison Ford. All right.
I love that.
All right, so let's kick things off. I personally am at capacity with the TV snippets and TV spots and trailers and interviews and all that stuff. I feel like we are at the point now where we're hearing and seeing most of the same things, which is why we're dedicating most of the time on today's show to just discussing everything and really tossing our final thoughts out there. But that isn't without these last two that we're going to cover here, which is Rotten Tomatoes did a featurette, which featured some of the cast sort of talking about how they feel Star Wars is very generational and maybe what it means to them. Were they fans? Were they not fans? And how they feel their story fits in with the bigger picture of Star Wars as a just legendary franchise. And then we had the red carpet interview with Amandla Stenberg, where she just sort of was asked about, did any previous Star Wars characters inspire her? And she gave a very, was she supposed to say that candid answer where she's referring to two characters that she plays. So, Lacey, I'm going to throw this to you, because we are sort of speculating early here when we look at these things. Any takeaways from either of these two clips? Things you saw, because there were new shots from the show, or anything? Any of your thoughts on dissecting what Amandla Stenberg was saying, or was she just being very direct here and telling us something that we didn't necessarily have confirmed?
Well, speaking about the featurette first, I don't think it gave me anything necessarily mind-blowing in this featurette. It was very straightforward. It's a marketing piece. They're talking about generations and how everyone loves Star Wars. John and I were joking off air a little bit, and I kind of agree that some of the people here, I would say they lean very much on Daphne Keane and Amandla to talk about their experiences with Star Wars and how they grew up with Star Wars and how much they love Star Wars. And I think they're being honest and true about it. Like, they've talked about how they used sticks as lightsabers, and Amandla definitely does cosplay and talks about how she really loves being a part of Star Wars. So I think that, with the other people like Carrie-Anne Moss and whatnot, she clearly is excited to be a part of it, but I wouldn't say she's a diehard fan. It seemed like she was more interested in stating that her family is pumped more than she is pumped. Also, the thing that I took away from here is that they talked about what her favorite scene was, Carrie-Anne Moss's, and she goes, "Oh, my action scene with Amandla." And I went, "Scene? So just one scene? So you're dying?" Like, that's what I took away, because they just keep showing the same scene over and over and over again with her. And maybe I'm reading into this, John. Maybe I'm thinking too much about it. The only times I've seen Carrie-Anne Moss is at the Coven village, where she has bangs, and then the cantina, where she doesn't have bangs. Those are the two shots I've seen her. Now, I don't know if they're hiding things, which is totally a possibility. But to me, I keep thinking in my head more and more. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to kill her. She's dead. She's dead, Zoe. Dead, 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 dead. You're muted, man.
That's become a very simmering theory with Carrie-Anne Moss's character, Indara. I guess I'm sort of subscribing to that, because I think it would just be a very shocking thing. And if she dies, say at the end of the second episode, and we watch the first two, people are going to talk about it. And that's what they need. That's what they want. And it's also going to send everyone in sort of a frenzy, like, well, if they kill Carrie-Anne Moss, everyone's on the table here. Except Lee Jung-jae is not going anywhere. That guy, if he's the character everyone who has seen it is saying he is, in terms of how great of a character it is,
every single person has said that. That's the main reaction I've seen.
He will last beyond the Acolyte and be in other things that take place in this time period before prequels. So I think he's the one I'm putting a lock on, that he is surviving this entire series.
Yeah, I agree. Totally.
But Carrie Ann Moss would not shock me at all if she died, because I think that would, like I said, like really just send shockwaves. And I've brought this analogy up before, but for anybody who remembers the original movie Scream, you know, that was back in the day before blogs and spoilers and stuff, and people start that movie, and all of a sudden you get Drew Barrymore on the screen. You're like, oh my god, here's, you know, she's the new lead. She's gonna be the new Jamie Lee Curtis or whatever, and she gets killed in the first 15 minutes of the movie, and then everyone's like, oh my god, what is going to happen in the rest of this movie? If they do that with Carrie Ann Moss in this, we're in for a ride. So I almost hope it happens, even though I like her as an actor, because she maybe even serve the story more and have one of those like impact deaths that we talk about forever, because they killed Carrie Ann Moss after 40 minutes on screen. Like, what? So I think that'd be very interesting. So I'm kind of subscribing to that too.
And she's been missing from a lot of the press tour stuff. She wasn't at, I know someone said it in the comments, but I knew that as well, is that she wasn't at the UK press tour, premiere stuff.
She was, but there was a payphone nearby. She picked it up and she disappeared.
Sorry for our audio listeners. I just did the hand to the camera and phone to the head.
Yeah.
Sorry, you don't get that. I apologize.
I had to throw that in.
Yeah, this featurette didn't blow my mind. That was the one piece, and then the other piece was seeing Amandla's character on a ship in a spacesuit, just like we saw with Ahsoka. When we first saw Ahsoka do that in live action, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so wild. I've never seen this before, and now they're doing it in this show as well. So I feel like every time we see a Star Wars series or film, it's like starting, I think, really kind of with The Last Jedi. You see people now moving outside of what is possible, because people kind of stayed within what's been done before with Star Wars. And as these series and stuff has grown, you see like one new thing that you haven't seen yet. And it keeps building. So I'm interested to see where this series goes, because it seems like they are attempting to do things that we haven't seen before in Star Wars. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like a lot of the chats between them, like Carrie Ann Moss and who plays why can't I think of her name?
Daphne
Keene. Yeah, Daphne Keene, and then Bartlett. Man, I'm slipping on all the names. The three
guy
of them
from Russian Doll, yeah.
Yeah. It feels like they, and Manny Jacinto, it feels like they may not have been the most diehard Star Wars fans, but they felt like they needed to let people know that they like Star Wars, and that's fine. Like, it's okay. Like,
there's definitely a pressure that comes with Star Wars that I think the people involved have to prove themselves. But at the same time, as we get into these stories, there are people that are like, I don't know anything about Star Wars, and they were like, you're hired, and that's okay too.
Tony Gilroy made fun of Star Wars after making Star Wars with Rogue One, and he came back to make more Star Wars, and people love him. So not everyone needs to have been inspired by A New Hope, and that made me want to be a filmmaker. Like, if you're good and you commit to this, I don't care if you're a fan or not. So I like, sometimes when they're like, oh, you know, it just connects us all, and it's sort of like when it happened to me all the time. I'd be in my literature class and trying to hide behind, you know, someone's shirt because I didn't do the reading of like A Night to Remember, like the Titanic book, and the teacher inevitably calls on me, and I have to give these very like
broad answers. Yeah,
broad answers because I didn't know. And that's
exactly
how it feels a little bit, which is fine. I just hope they have a good time, and I hope they're good in the show. That's all that matters to me. The Amandla Stenberg thing.
Do you want me to play the Stenberg clip?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, let's play it.
Yeah.
Huge Star Wars fan, the prequels particularly. Is there any character or scene or storyline in Star Wars that's kind of inspired your performance in The Acolyte?
Oh, interesting. Well, I thought about it differently depending on the character that I was playing. for one of my characters, I wanted that person to feel warm and kind of masculine. I thought about like Han Solo, and there's this humor and levity to Star Wars that makes it so joyous and fun, and I wanted that to be a part of her. And with the other character, I guess I thought about Anakin when he goes to the dark side of the Force. You know, his story is all driven by his relationship to his family and like a deep pain that exists there. And it's very similar for one of my characters.
I've got to let you go, but thank you so much for your time.
I've got to let you go.
I love her outfit, first of all. She's definitely doing a Leia Return of the Jedi vibes with the hair and the 2 pieces on her bun and the braid. Love it.
Yeah.
She looks fabulous.
What do you make from Amandla's answer?
I could tell you what my initial thought is, oh, they're twins. Which then going back to the things that Leslie Headland has said about how it's Frozen meets Kill Bill. She said this from like day one is how her pitch was when she went to Lucasfilm. And I admit I was one of the people I was like, okay, Frozen. So maybe like she gets special powers or something. That's not what reference she's making with Frozen. What she's making with Frozen is the sisterly stuff between Anna and Elsa. That's what she was saying. She was like Frozen, the love of 2 sisters, but can't quite figure it out, but they still care about each other. But then there's one that's like a little dark, that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, that she literally means Frozen. Which we're going to talk about that article in a little bit, but this confirms that clearly they're twins. I think, at least. I know that you're not in the side of that, but I feel like that's what they're saying here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably going to end up being twins. I'm still holding out a little sliver of hope that this is a primal fear thing, because I'm pretty sure Edward Norton promoting that movie was talking about the 2 different characters by name.
What, Fight Club?
No, Primal Fear.
Oh, Primal Fear. I didn't know that was the name of the movie.
So it's interesting to me. I still think it would be better if that ends up being the twist, because it seems like they're just like, yeah, we're just gonna like throw this out there. We're on the red carpet, and I'm playing multiple characters, and there's 2 people on the poster, and everyone seems to be throwing out this twins thing. So I'm guessing it probably will be that, but it would be really cool if that ultimately it ends up being one of the twists where through marketing and through their quotes and stuff, they were selling us on that and having us believe that, and then they flip it. But we'll see. Once we see some of these episodes, that might be right out of the gate. We might be told that 2 kids were separated at birth or something. One went to the Jedi Temple. One went to a slumlord. You know, who knows?
Yeah. It is interesting if you look at the cast photos from the LA premiere, the Hollywood premiere. There were 2 younger girls that looked like Amandla. There were 2 of them standing in the cast photo that seemingly looked like twins or could play sisters or could play similar characters. And I remember seeing the cast photo being like, I have no idea who these 2 people are, but they're front and center in the cast photo next to Amandla. So to me, it says that those are the actresses or actors that are playing the May Osha character when they're younger.
Yeah, that could be. Or sometimes if actors are too young, they hire twins due to like labor laws. So that could be the case too.
Right. And that's totally.
Yeah, so it could be one person.
Mary Kate and Ashley.
Yeah. I'm glad I don't know yet. But either way, you know, whichever direction they go in, I'll go for the ride. But we'll get to more speculation and predictions later. Now, before we get to the New York Times article that has sent everybody into a tornado in one way or another, we do have super chats, right?
We do. So let's bring those up. First of all, we have David Probus. Thank you, David, so much for the super chat. We really appreciate it. He says, it's almost time, baby. Acolyte hype is real. TRB live. Let's go.
Aco Night coming at you, David. And David recently revealed he's working on completing a Balin Skull cosplay.
I love that, David. Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if
Awesome.
that was not supposed to be publicly revealed yet, David, but if it wasn't,
Spoiler alert, Johnny.
too bad. Thank you, David. Appreciate it, buddy.
Next up is Padawan Michael. What up, Michael? He says, we are very appreciative of this non-toxic community that you have created for Star Wars fans. May the Force be with you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We try to be respectful of everybody's opinions and comments and thoughts. And I think, for 7 years now, John and I have always appreciated everybody's viewpoints, whether we agree or not. That's okay. That's what makes us Star Wars fans, is that we all like different things and believe different things and come from different backgrounds and values and whatnot. And it's all about being respectful, for me at least. What do you think, John?
Yeah, Michael, like, he always, in the Discord, he always leaves his feedback on every episode pretty much, and that means such a great deal to me, because sometimes I'm like, I know people are listening because I have access to the numbers, but sometimes I'm like, I would love to know what people think of like this episode or something,
And we truly appreciate it, because
Yeah.
it's sometimes you could just, everybody has bad days. You could be having a bad day, and if someone just replies being like, hey, I listened to the episode, I really liked this point you made, it makes my day. Like, people responding and sharing our episodes and stuff, it really makes me feel like I'm doing something.
Or even if they disagree with a take of mine, it's always done.
I appreciate that too. I love when people hate what I say.
Yeah, no doubt. So thank you, Michael. I appreciate it very much, and hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, you're the man. All right, Christy's up. What up, Christy? Oh, wrong one. It's my bad. Christy's up. Thank you for the super chat. Christy said, I love being a part of this base and the N and N community. Oh my gosh. Christy, I think you're the first person that's acknowledged Nerdy and Nice as its own community. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for giving us all nerds a place to call home. You guys make it a home. Is that a phrase? That thing? But thank you so much. We appreciate it. But that's really cool that you say N and N community.
Yeah.
Never had that before.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Christy. So Lacey and I, obviously diehard Star Wars fans, also nerdy about a lot of other stuff. And if we can get all people to come on under the TRB banner, loving all this stuff together, that's the ultimate goal. So thank you. All right, let us get to that big article about Leslie Headland.
It is long.
And New York Times doing a pet peeve of Lacey Gilleran's. And their headline is, Leslie Headland hopes the Force is with the Acolyte. That's the headline of the article.
New York Times has no creativity.
So Leslie Headland speaks about the show. It's a very lengthy piece, but also a lot about sort of maybe the imposter syndrome of taking something on like this, what it's like from a woman's perspective. And Kathleen Kennedy also had quotes about that as well. So Lacey, as the woman on the podcast,
am I a woman? Sometimes it gets forgotten in this community that I am in fact a woman.
You are. And yeah, believe it or not, if your podcast also has men on it, you are still a woman. So that is nice to know. Yeah.
Sometimes I get a little ignored when it comes to the ladies in fandom, but I am in fact a woman.
Yes. So yeah, Lacey, your thoughts on this that was really making the rounds, and quotes taken out of certain contexts and stuff. So what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I think two things. I'm going to start with the positive thing that I really loved about this article, which was they talked to Jocelyn Bio, is her name? Bio, B-I-O-H. And they asked her about the process of doing the show and being in the writing room as a non-Star Wars fan. And she said, Leslie wanted this show to be accessible. No homework needed before watching. Headland added Bio to the writing team for the Acolyte specifically because she was not a Star Wars devotee. Quote, she asked me what I knew about Star Wars, and my answer was Harrison Ford runs around space with a giant dog. And Leslie said, you're hired.
Nailed it.
This is and she wanted to potentially invite new fans, people like me. And this part of the article really stood out to me, and I brought it up earlier in the show today because I think one of my favorite things about Star Wars is that you can become a fan at any time. Just because you didn't see it in the theater in 1977 doesn't mean you're not a fan. Just because you like the books or the comics or just the movies or just the shows, or hey, maybe you're just really obsessed with Padme. There's so many different ways to Star Wars, so to speak, that I really appreciate this person being straight up honest based on what we said earlier about this Acolyte press tour. Hey, I'm not a fan. I know Harrison Ford and a giant dog. Great.
Yeah.
That's what I know. But I appreciate that because it's never too late to become a fan. And if you're not, it's okay. I feel like often there are fans that are like quizzing other fans and saying like, oh, well, if you don't like this, you're not a fan. And oh, if you haven't read all these books, you're not a fan. And if you don't know this character or this thing, you're not a fan. And that couldn't be farther from the truth. I have always stood by that anybody can be a fan of anything at any time. The moment you start liking something, you're a fan. And I appreciate that this person was straight up honest, being like, that writer that she said didn't like Star Wars? I'm the one. That's me. I'm that one. Because it's important to get other points of view. And I think we live in a world right now where people tend to not get other points of view. They tend to be in this echo chamber of what they believe in and what they think, and that's not good. Because then you're only in this one world. You're not seeing anybody outside of what your viewpoints are. So I appreciate that she brought in someone that wasn't in the Star Wars space, that didn't care as much as other people, because she's going to give her honest opinions about things and make story choices based on what makes a good tale, what makes a good narrative for these characters. What would this character do outside of Star Wars, not just in Star Wars, but outside of this bubble that the character is in? Would this make sense? Because sometimes that gets lost in these franchises. Like, they make choices that don't make sense whatsoever, except for that specific character. So I really, really appreciated that. And I can't wait to see what moments this person impacted, Jocelyn impacted, and what she brought to the table for this show.
Point.
Yeah, I would really love to see that. Hopefully they do an interview with her after the show comes out, because obviously no spoilers. But obviously the big thing, before I got into that little tangent, that was in this article that you brought up, me being a woman, because it makes sense, is that Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland were talking about how the space in fandom tends to be a little toxic. And that Kathleen Kennedy said, operating within these giant franchises now with social media and the level of expectation, it's terrifying. I think Leslie has struggled a little bit with it. I think a lot of women who step into Star Wars struggle with this a bit more because of the fan base being so male dominated. They sometimes get attacked in ways that can be quite personal. First of all, I don't think Kathleen Kennedy knows how bad it is. I don't think she knows how bad the internet is, to be fair. She's a very busy woman. I don't think she's sitting in the comments section. I don't think she fully understands the terrible things that are said online. That being said, I think things are said to everyone. I don't think it's just women. I think everybody gets attacked at times. Now, do I think sometimes women get attacked more? Yes. I've been attacked numerous times, told terrible things in my DMs, told that I'm stupid. People leave reviews for the show being like, hey, that annoying woman on the podcast needs to stop talking. Like, those are things that I get on the daily. And it was something, and John can speak to this, that I struggled with early on, probably the first 1 or 2 years of doing this podcast, that like someone would say something and it would really impact me personally. And I would be like, oh my gosh, like people hate me. And you could get 20 messages saying, hey, Lacey, I really loved your show. But if you get 1 or 2 that are like really, really negative and really mean, it hits you hard. Not to say that people like Daisy Ridley didn't get mean comments, or Kelly Marie Tran, but it's wild to me that Kathleen Kennedy is coming out now when she's really remained silent for years while these women suffered online. Like, nobody really came out and said anything until I think Reva with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Moses Ingram. I don't think anybody really said anything for Daisy or Kelly Marie Tran. Kelly, they came out later, not when it was happening.
Yeah.
But is it terrifying? It can be. It absolutely can be. But at the same time, the internet is not a nice place sometimes. It's hard. it's hard to be on the internet. It's hard to put yourself out there, whether you're an actor, actress, producer, creator, writer, anything. It's hard to put yourself out there. But I was just very surprised that they were putting this in this article, because I feel like it kind of indirectly tears Leslie Headland down a little bit. I think they were trying to make her relatable and trying to make like, hey, look what she's going through, which I understand as a woman in this fandom, but I think it knocks her down a peg in the sense of, you don't have to say this. We already know that this is going on, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense? I feel like I'm rambling a little bit.
No, I wanted to give you, as much as you wanted to say, it does make sense for sure. I've seen you deal with a lot. I've dealt with my own, but I think you've dealt with
and
it
it's
more.
not random people, by the way. I want to make that clear, that oftentimes it's not random user 775321. It can be people in this fandom, people that everybody knows, people, other creators. People are mean.
No, yeah, no doubt about it. And
Yeah.
we always take the high road, and boy, could we write some books.
Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, I've gone through my own stuff, but I've seen you deal with it more regularly, with whether it's DMs or anything that you had listed, and other things that you could mention right now that you may not feel comfortable doing, that we've seen happen with you. I mean, I'll say this without getting too specific about it. I mean, there's been a Star Wars podcaster that mocked you for a difficult pregnancy that you had, and it's just like those types of things happened, and it's pretty wild what goes on out there. So I think people just keep your ear to the ground and make sure you're affiliating yourselves with the right people. And that's all saying
I
that.
do appreciate, though, that this is a good first step of calling out the behavior. I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah.
important to call out the behavior and say, this is not cool. But I don't know if Kathleen went about it in the right way, and or if I think she waited too long
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Kathleen Kennedy's in a tough spot there because she has, definitely put it out there about,
Yeah.
from an action standpoint, trying to build up women within Lucasfilm, and Michelle Rejwan, and I think Kathleen Kennedy has done more with her actions, less than a social media standpoint, because
Statement. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
she points out social media here, and I don't remember her talking about that much. So this could be a situation where, like, maybe Leslie, I'm just making this up, maybe Leslie Headland went through and be like, man, I can't believe what type of comments we're getting on this trailer. And then Kathleen Kennedy's like, oh my god, I didn't realize it was this bad. Like, but either way, she president of the studio, good job by putting your face out there, not hiding behind the doors. So I gotta applaud Kathleen Kennedy, regardless of whether you like her or not. That you got to respect that she's sort of like coaches do. You protect your players. She's protecting her players, and her player right now is Leslie Headland. So you got to,
and Leslie has said that she does get
hat to that,
weather
so.
reports from friends to get the temperature of what people are saying online.
Right. Yeah. So it is wild out there. So and I know our community is a great community. So I
We're lucky. We're
we
very,
have a
very
certain
lucky.
standard that we hold in our community. We absolutely do not allow anybody being in a situation where they feel uncomfortable. So I hope people also conduct themselves that way, because it is a growing fandom, and there's people of all ages and generations from all different backgrounds, and you got to remember to treat people like fellow humans. And you may think you're safe hiding behind your keyboard, but things come to roost. So be the best person you can be, and be who you would want George Lucas to think you are. How about that?
Yeah, and I think people need to remember that you don't know where someone else is coming from just because they don't agree with you. You know what I mean? Like, just because they don't like the movie you like doesn't make them a bad person. They just don't like that movie, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would find it funny if people who like, we're like, I'm just gonna decide to not like this show, watch it, and they're like, damn it, I love it. I don't know what to do.
No,
I can't tell anybody that I like it. I like it. It's like me with New Kids on the Block when I was 8.
Could you imagine? Someone's like, no.
I'm becoming good again.
They like shed, like they have the zipper like Men in Black where they're like zzz.
Yeah. He's like, I need sugar water. Yeah, so I don't know, who knows, to try to end that on a light note. But I know we have one more quick piece before we get into our final predictions. There's not much to this one, Lacey. It's a check-in though with a show that most people seem to have liked, which was Andor. You have a cast member, Adria Arjona, who plays Bix, giving us sort of a check-in on stuff we kind of already knew. She said, she was asked, like, how are you guys getting this show up to Rogue One with only one more season? And she reiterated the plan that Tony Gilroy laid out, which is every 3 episodes will be 1 year. And she sort of touched on how she sees Bix's journey without getting into specifics. But she did say that Tony Gilroy established an arc that she really likes for the character. So we did see Bix not have the best ending to the first half of Andor, so maybe there is more of a brighter horizon ahead for her in season 2. Did you happen to catch any of the quotes from this interview, and what are your overall thoughts on Bix, and how do you think things are going to play out for her, because she's obviously not in Rogue One?
Yeah, well, there's 2 ways. She either dies or she fades off into the resistance or into the rebellion, should I say. Nothing comes of her. She just goes off into the Outer Rim. I would assume she's probably dying because Tony Gilroy loves to kill people. He loves his sad endings. I found it interesting when she broke down the timing, because we had an idea of what the timing would be, but she goes into detail of what it is. So it's between every 3 episodes, there's a year, and then there's 3 more episodes, then a year, and then 3 more. So you're seeing the evolution of these characters through such a large span of time, and I've never done that, is what she said, which is interesting to me because she then goes into, it's like, not, aging 10 years, they're not putting prosthetics on her, they're not giving her a wig and making her an old lady. It's more subtle than that. And she gave a comparison of like, I've been doing the show for 2-3 years, and you looking at me now, I don't look any different than I did 3 years ago, but I am a different person. I have been through different experiences, and it will be interesting to see where these characters go. She's been through very traumatic things. When we meet her in Andor, she is strong. She is, kind of snarky a little bit. She's like, I don't need your help. I could do this all by myself. And then they tore her apart, tore her down mentally, that I can't imagine per se right now, currently, where her character is going to go. Are they going to remain her on the path of broken, or is she going to come back from that and be stronger than she was before? What do you think?
It wouldn't necessarily surprise me if Bix goes the not martyr route, but like sacrifice route.
I have nothing left to lose type route.
Yeah, because I don't think, like, when we meet Cassian in Rogue One, he's still pretty cold. Like how he kills that fellow spy by shooting him in the back, and how cold, like the coldness in which he interrogated Jyn Erso at the beginning. This isn't a guy who's
kind of a jerk.
Yeah, this isn't a guy who seems like, oh, this woman I've had this long relationship with and loved, like, I'm glad she found safety. And like Bix doesn't seem like the character who's like, all right, I've done enough, I'm gonna go retire on a farm now. Like, Bix seems the type who's going to be in it till the end, for good or for bad. And because we don't see her in Rogue One, for obvious reasons that was made before this, I just have this feeling that she might not make it out of here. But I also know that Gilroy likes to not ignore his characters, whether they be small or big characters. So all these people that he've introduced for Andor, I think we're going to get nice bows tied with all of their stories. So whether she makes it out or not, I'd like to think that through these final 12 episodes, we actually get more of Bix than we did in season 1, and we get a nice conclusion to her story, which I can't say for all Star Wars characters. Like the Reva thing still bothers me. You know, that's I want to see,
especially when the writer came out and was like, "That's not what I wrote." I was like,
oh, right. So at least we know Gilroy sort of had this idea from the get-go. So what we get with the ending of Bix was probably outlined from the beginning. So we can sort of, rest assured on that. Whether it's the ending we want or not is another story. But I look forward to Andor. And even though this wasn't chock full of details, it was cool to get a check-in on another Star Wars thing that's coming up. So,
question for you. Ready?
Yeah.
On the count of 3, say what character you're most excited to see their story wrap up from Andor.
For Andor?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Luthen Rail.
Yeah, he's the coolest.
Yeah. I'm very curious to see what happens with him. Yeah. All right. Let us head to our next segment, which is our discussion.
I'm just gonna find where the discussion thing is.
I tried to say that as long as
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
That's why I was like, let us head to a discussion. All right. So let's do it. Let's spend, some minutes here. Some final call out, some final predictions, speculation on what's going to happen here in the Acolyte. So we already touched on some already. So you think, are you going to call it now? Is Carrie-Anne Moss dying by the time midnight Wednesday hits? Will her character be dead in the Acolyte?
Oh, she's dead. She gone. She gone.
All right. I'm gonna sign up with you on that one too.
Which is so sad for me, but I think based on the fact that every question she answers, she's like, that action sequence where I'm doing kung fu, the fight sequence, the fight that I did that one time, and you're like, okay, did you do anything else? She's like, okay, but the fight though.
Right. Yes, exactly. She keeps going back to that, and it's just like.
So then when we were on set for the fight, and you're like, okay, so I'm seeing behind the scenes footage of her fighting with cardboard boxes. I'm seeing footage of her on set for the fight scene in the cantina. I'm seeing the cantina fight in movie theaters and online. So that's it. That
And then like a clever reporter like asks her that one first, but then they're like, all right, well, what was your toughest day on set? And she's like, I think the fight with Amandla was a really difficult day on set.
I don't know how I really got it together. It was just, the fight was everything I could ever imagine. Yeah. So what does it feel like to be in Star Wars? Well, when I was doing the fight.
Right. Carrie-Anne, what was tell me about your favorite days on set. She's like, day on set.
What do you want for lunch, Miss Moss? Well, when I did the fight, I did have a Caesar salad, so I think I'm gonna have a Caesar salad again. We're so crazy because we see every clip, every interview, everything that when you talk to a normal person and you're like, I've watched 16 interviews with Carrie-Anne Moss, and everyone she brings up this, and people are like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like when JJ kept saying you're going to be satisfied, and we were like, yo, get this boy a Snickers. He won't stop saying satisfied.
I know. I was very satisfied. I love JJ.
I was not. But I was angry, so I could still have the Snickers because I'll feel better once I have the Snickers.
I will run through walls for JJ Abrams. Who, speaking of...
Look, I love him, but...
Speaking of people being treated harshly, like JJ Abrams, like there were people who like... I wrote an article about this when I used to be at the Star Wars Newsnet. Like people were like, if I had 2 bullets and I could kill Hitler or JJ Abrams, I would shoot JJ twice. And I like
that's insane
in my article. And of course I got like dragged for it or whatever. But I'm just like, this is you. This is like people who they claim to be fans of Star Wars, and they're just like saying this about these directors. It's just insanity.
About
like,
other humans.
J.J. Abrams got death threats. It's one thing to be like, your show stinks, and I don't want to watch it because I don't like you. Versus like, I'd rather kill you than Hitler. It's like, holy cow. Jeez. And JJ just took the high road. I love you, JJ. I'll do anything for you. All right, come on the show, JJ. Let's go.
What about that fight scene?
How about that fight scene? So here's another one I'm gonna throw out there that I kind of talked about before. I think, based on what we've heard from people, and not like details, but like their love for this character, I think Master Soul is surviving not just this season, but I think he's lasting the entire show. I think he can very much, because Lee Jong Jae is liked by everybody. Like, everybody seems to really like this guy. And he seems dialed in. He seems all about it. He seems very good in the role. So however long Acolyte goes, whether it's, the standard 2 seasons or 3, whatever, I think he even goes on beyond that if he wants to. So I think that character is the only one I think is in the clear. Everyone else, I think, is on the table.
I think Kelnaka is in the clear as well.
I hope so. I don't like...
Because they want to keep a creature like that around.
Yeah.
I think just like Chewbacca, which it's basically Chewbacca with a high Ariana Grande ponytail. They want to keep Chewbacca and/or Kelnaka around because he looks good on press tours. They did so much press with him. He looks good in photos. I don't think anything's happening to him. I think he's one of those characters that's going to stick around as well because they could just always bring him up.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I'm all down for that character living on because we love Jonas on this podcast.
Jonas, we love you.
That is widely known. We have to get him back in here.
Remember when he told us when he was on the show about how he would love to be a Jedi Wookiee? Do you think he knew? Do you think he knew he was going to be a Jedi Wookiee, or do you think he was just pitching that?
I don't know if he knew by that point.
I got to dig up that clip and put it out online because
we do.
It was like, if there was one thing I'd want to do as a Jedi Wookiee, and then he was like,
yeah,
that was a terrible Wookiee, by the way.
That was a very tired Wookiee before. That was like a Wookiee before having their Resistance brew from Weird Brothers.
Oh my god, that tie-in. Head over to weirdbrothers.com.
Get yourself a mug.
Support small business. What's in that mug? Is that paper?
Post-its. Yeah.
What are those bad ideas?
Horrible ideas. Yeah.
They go in the mug.
Let's see what this one is. They're not twins. It's the same person. Yeah.
It went right behind you.
I think that did fall behind me. It's stuck to my back now. I'm still not completely sold on the twins thing because with the only thought that they're purposely doing this now, so we're like, oh, it's definitely twins. Now, again, that might change very clearly when we watch these first 2 episodes, but until I see some of the Acolyte, I'm not completely erasing the idea of a Primal Fear scenario where, well, not exactly like Primal Fear, but we think it's 2 people and it's not. But anyway, in terms of other speculation, how do you think it's going to go with this helmeted figure? Do you think...
Which they said the helmet is themed per horror, is what Leslie Headland said. They drew horror references, and that's what they were going for with that kind of creepy smile mask.
Do you think that person is this Sith that is sort of controlling one of Amandla's characters, or do you think it's her? Like, what are you gathering? What are you thinking about that character? And do you think we're gonna, because there was one shot of that mask, I think, on the ground. So are we getting an unmasking, early in the get-go here? Like, what are your thoughts on this character that everybody seems to be talking about, but I don't know that everybody has put their finger on it?
First of all, I think that character is going to be my new favorite cosplay when I see it at Celebration Japan next year or any type of Comic-Con. I wonder what cosplayers are already making that helmet. It looks sick. I'm going to throw a wild thing out here. What if Carrie-Anne Moss doesn't die and she is the masked character?
See, now we're getting wild. Now we're talking. Now we're getting weird and wild.
Would you freak out if it was her? If this whole time we're like, she dies, and then she doesn't die. She's the smiley guy.
I wouldn't like that.
Why not?
Yeah, because it feels too much like what they've been doing in like the Scream sequels, where it's like
You can't just say, I don't like it because they did it in Scream. This is Star Wars.
I know, but this is a horror. This is a mystery. Not a
Mm.
whodunit, but it's like a mystery, and so was those movies, and those movies involved a masked villain. So I'm just trying to connect, but I wouldn't like that just because it feels very Scooby Doo, you know. It would be almost too, and you
It
have
was
to, like,
Mr. Henderson.
yeah,
I would have
and
gotten away with it if it wasn't for these meddling kids.
right. And I honestly just think that would be that would probably piss a lot of people off. So I just don't think they'll do that.
Okay,
But
if you had to pick one
yeah.
character who's under that mask, who do you think it is?
That isn't like Amandla Stenberg.
I don't think it's Amandla because Amandla's in the jungle place when that character shows up. She's having the knife to her neck with the handcuffs.
But if there's two of them, it's just like you don't know what's going on.
But the other one she described in the interview as a Han Solo-y, funny, masculine energy. Like that isn't that guy with the smiley. I'm saying guy, but I mean guy.
If I had to pick, if it's any character we've seen in that helmet, I don't know. I'm still a little sketched out by Yord Fandor. I don't trust that guy.
But he's getting attacked by that character, so it can't be him
I don't
either.
care. I don't care.
But I'm asking you, who do you think's in the smile mask?
Oh, I think ultimately it's someone we haven't seen yet.
You think it's someone that we've never seen?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
fair. I kind of am leaning towards Carrie-Anne Moss.
I don't even know what I'll do if you're right about that. I'll hate it because I don't like the whole Scooby Doo thing. Like, oh my god, it was her the whole time, But I'd also be like, no, I haven't heard anybody predict that. So
I haven't either. You heard it here first, folks, and I fell right into that. I didn't ponder that up or like pull references from different books and stuff. I literally was like, yo, wouldn't it be crazy?
I mean, it would. It would be absolutely bananas. And it would, like, for people who are upset that, she has a short term on the show, they'd be like, oh, just kidding.
Oh, Christy's saying another pizza bet, perhaps. Look, guys, I'm already down a pizza, basically. I have, till next Wednesday for them to release a TV spot with Yoda, which already Leslie Headland put it. Well, that's when it comes out. Tuesday. Oh, you're right. Sorry, I have till Tuesday at 9 p.m. to figure out if I lose or not. But the interesting thing is Leslie Headland did do an interview with Amandla where they were talking about specifically Yoda being in the series. And Leslie was like, wouldn't that be cool if Lucasfilm let me use Yoda? And that answer is so specific. Like, hey, they would never let me use Yoda. Like they protect that character.
Which means Yoda's showing up in the last episode or something.
You think so? But he's not showing up in a trailer, which was the bet that we made, which, to clarify to everybody, it was that he would show up in a TV spot or trailer before the premiere of the show. That is the pizza bet. So she's saying another pizza bet. Who do we think is in the mask?
No, we're not doing that.
I'll do it. I'll do Carrie-Anne Moss, and you could do anybody. You could do not known character.
No, I'm not doing it.
Well, denied.
There will be more bets, but you know what we also have to bring back, which we used to do for all the movies, is the sort of like that quiz thing we would put out, and whoever had the highest score would win. I love
the quiz, but we can't do it because people have seen it now.
We'll have to bring it back for either Skeleton Crew or like the next movie, or we'll have to bring that back. That was a fun thing. I loved
that. Yeah.
All right. I want to circle back to the possession theory that I've been cooking up.
Which, by the way, I've seen more and more people talking about. And I was like,
good. That's good. Because I think it's definitely happening. But I am going to sort of reiterate this, but I genuinely think the crux of this show from the dark side perspective is going to come down to and it's gonna fit. This is gonna fit nicely into what Palpatine realized he had to do. So I'm trying to put my thoughts together on this. So go for the ride with me on this.
Somehow
So
Palpatine returned to this discussion of a show that happens how many years before him?
This is going to be important to Palpatine for sure, because I think Plagueis is going to be involved in some way or another. So whoever is pulling the strings for the Sith right now, whether it's Darth Tenebris, who is Plagueis' master, Plagueis himself, because if he is canonically a moon, he could technically be alive around this time. But whoever's doing it, they are realizing, all right, it's two of us. The Jedi are top of the world. See right now, everyone loves the Jedi. So what do we have to do? We can't take them down with our use of the Force. There's too many of them. They have this whole council. They have
an
thousands
army.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All this, all the speeches about for thousands of generations. Like the Sith are just like, man, we just want to win one title. We just want one title. They keep winning the titles, the Jedi. So they're like, we have to turn the public on the Jedi. How do we do that? Batman Returns style. You frame them. You make them look bad.
Reputation, yeah. Word of mouth.
So this possession thing with this coven, which I think everybody who's a Star Wars fan that is dialed into these clips and stuff believe a lot of this stuff took place in the past. We saw one of the Jedi's eyes go black and he falls to his knees. We saw two Jedi fighting each other in what appears to be that same flashback scene.
Kelnaka, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Sith are going to hire or force in some way
Make a
using
deal.
fear to make this coven agree to put spells upon the Jedi to possess them to do bad things. And they want the public to see the Jedi doing these bad things, assuming they're doing it under their own true volition. And that's why you hear the quotes from the Manny Jacinto character, Kymir, I believe he pronounced it as. And he's talking about how, like, yeah, I don't know if they're all actually all that great. And there was an interview with Charlie what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. Barnett?
I don't know.
The guy who plays Yord Fandar. There's too many names to know. I just want to say it right, though. I want to say his name right. I don't want to screw that up. It is Charlie Barnett. Yeah. So he plays Yord Fandar. And he was even caught in an interview saying, like, he believes in the Jedi way, but he's like, it's sort of those things where, like, you think your parents are great, and then you grow up and you realize they're just humans too. And he's like, so it sounds like his character may be even going through this sort of, like, crisis of conscience and wondering if he's really doing the right thing. And, that reminds you of Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, who was like, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. And, like, how can you do this? It's unfair. Like, that's not the Jedi way, So I'm still wondering about this guy. I don't know that he's necessarily going to be just this comic relief. I could see Yord Fandor.
They described him as Kymir.
No.
They described him as a shadowy traitor. So what if he's the masked guy? Now I've switched.
No.
I switched. You don't think so? There's no way.
I can't. I need that character to be the control, like the voice of the people. Like he's sort of like our check-in with the regular population to understand what the temperature is on how people feel about the Jedi and all this mysterious stuff going on.
What if he dies after a few episodes, like Ahsoka with Marok or whatever his name is?
Then he'll be a symbol for the decline of society. But there's something about the Yord Fandar guy, again, Charlie Barnett was out of all these actors, Charlie Barnett, I think, has worked professionally the most closely with Leslie Headland. So she trusts him. I could see her giving him a role that does have like some twists and turns and a lot of nuance. And so far he's sort of just like, he's there and, he's a great Jedi. But then they also told us that Jackie Lon, is that the character's name? Yes, Jackie Lon.
Daphne Keene, yeah.
Daphne Keene is like a better Jedi than him. but she's younger, so I could see him getting a little jealous too. So I'm still keeping my eye on Yord Vander. I don't think that guy is clean. I think something's gonna happen with that guy. So to round it back out to what I'm saying about this possession stuff, though, we are going to see this happen, and we're going to see the public witnessing the Jedi doing things under this possession, thinking they're just the Jedi, them seeing the Jedi for who they really are, that the Jedi are just in power and they're evil, and all this thing is a facade, that they're there to protect the galaxy. And that's very topical for current governments. And, Leslie Headland's dialed into all that. Star Wars has always sort of touched on that with themes like George Lucas talking about the Vietnam War and the original trilogy sort of being based on that. So it's been entrenched in Star Wars history. Would not surprise me if that's what the angle is here. And that's how the Sith start crumbling that trust and the Jedi start falling apart a little bit. Where they falter is that only reaches a certain limit. Then you need to actually get a Jedi to, on their own will, turn on everything they believe in, so that people
to forget what they grew up in. Yeah.
It's one thing to possess somebody and make them do things that they wouldn't normally do. It's another to take somebody who's supposed to be the beacon, the chosen one, the prophecy, and have that person turn evil. That's what Palpatine figured out. He learned the lessons from Plagueis and whoever else was doing this stuff, and he's like, that didn't work. Because remember, Palpatine said Plagueis taught him everything he knew. So anything he experienced, Palpatine heard about and learned about. So Palpatine took that information. He's like, you use this witchcraft and sorcery to brainwash these people. I need to actually do it and make the person turn themselves. And that's when he finds Anakin, preys on Anakin, and then we get the ultimate fall of the Jedi. So I think that could be the ultimate connection here between these two things, and what will make Acolyte not just a tell a cool dark side story. It impacts and adds layers to what happened thereafter. So yes, Palpatine involvement, but just based on him learning lessons from the past, which, as he told us, he learned everything from Plagueis to the point where he was able to defeat and kill him. So I think that would be very interesting.
I mean, Leslie Headland does talk about in several interviews about how the inspiration of this show is that, everybody has the capacity to go to the dark side. Everybody has the ability to do the wrong thing or become bad or, go down that dark path. And it's a question of like, what if the underdog was the bad guy? So you're going to see someone that's going to work their way up to cause chaos and cause problems. So yeah, I think you made some great points there. Do you want to get into some super chats before we?
Yes.
Get into
absolutely.
Okay, cool. So we have Chibigon89. Danny, what's up? She said, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you both for sending me and Neil to represent TRB last week. It was an incredible experience. I'll forever be grateful to thinking of us. Of course, Danny. Of course. You don't have to thank us. All good. All good. You and Neil are so kind. But you guys looked like you had a blast, and I love seeing all your videos and photos and everything else.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Next is Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. She said, it's not luck that this community is positive and supportive. You guys have set the tone and built that. Be proud. It's why we're here. Oh, thank you, Michelle. It's so sweet. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We couldn't. You okay, John? we wouldn't be where we are without you guys. We wouldn't be accomplishing what we do without you guys, and you guys make our lives better. That's just simple.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Last but not least, of course, David Ford. What up, man? Thanks for the super chat. He said Carrie-Anne Moss had a reoccurring role in Daredevil, so it is possible she's in more than one episode. It's not likely that she was only on set for one day. How do you know, David?
Yeah.
Were you in the fight scene, David?
Maybe David is the Acolyte.
David is the Acolyte.
David's bookstore. All right.
Thank you so much, David.
Other things you want to toss out there? Any big bangs?
I think my big bang was the Carrie-Anne Moss being under the helmet thing.
Okay. Yeah, mine's the whole possession plot and the public distrust thing.
I know I'm missing something though, because they've been kind of flaunting it a little bit, especially Leslie Headland, that is like, none of you know the truth. None of you know how this is going to go. It's not what you expect. And I can't even imagine what the actual answer is because I'm not that smart. So
Look,
I couldn't have figured it out.
This is like I think sometimes I don't know, I feel like I'm very sensitive today. But sometimes I feel like I think it was talking about all that stuff like that you went through, I think that really gets me going. But I think people think like, oh, you're a Star Wars podcaster and I listen to you, so you need to know more than I do. It's like I don't. I don't think that I do.
I don't. We didn't see the first episodes. Other people have seen
I
them.
didn't
We
read
have
the
not
High
seen them
Republic
yet.
either. So but I've
But
seen
Leslie
reviews
said
that
that
say
you don't have to
you
read the
don't
books,
need.
and you do not need to read the books. You do not need to do anything
That's
to show
Bob
up to
Iger
this.
being like, you make sure you tell people they don't need to know jack, and they better hit play on
Well,
Disney Plus on Tuesday
it's
night.
not just him. I think that's kind of been the mantra of Dave Filoni, oh my god, Filoni as of yet, is
Yeah.
that he said that with Ahsoka. People were asking, "Do you need to watch Rebels? Do you need to watch Clone Wars?" And he was very clear that he was like, "No, you do not need to watch anything. You can just roll up and enjoy the show. However, if you want to get more out of it, you can." So yeah, you don't need to know anything going into this. And I appreciate that because I remember the feeling of excitement that I had for The Mandalorian and that I knew it wasn't necessarily tied to anything directly. I knew obviously it was part of Star Wars, but it wasn't something that I needed to know the lore of this or what have you. And I feel like that's the same with this.
Mm-hmm.
I am a little concerned just based on the initial reviews from people. It hasn't been anybody being like, this is the best Star Wars I've ever seen. I don't think anybody said that. It's been like, yeah, it's great. I've liked it so far. Or the fight scenes are awesome. Or, oh, it's everything you like about Star Wars with more lightsabers. Like those kind of like broad statements that everybody gives in like social media reviews. I haven't seen anything except that everybody likes Master Soul, which is cool because he was the one character that back when Squid Game was on, I was like, I would love to get him into Star Wars one day. And apparently Leslie Headland thought the same thing and she made it happen. And I appreciated that.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to think going into the show. I love that it's about Jedi. I've always said that Star Wars is lightsabers and Jedi. So this is the show that we're getting now. But yeah, I'm interested to see how it is because I haven't seen anybody really go off on how much they love this show and how it's the best thing they've ever seen, kind of like we saw with Andor, if that makes sense. Like we saw so much of like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to Star Wars. This is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I have not seen that with this show. And that's not to say that it isn't good. I'm just saying it's interesting to see the different reactions to the different series and movies and whatnot over time, especially with the TV shows, because they are different tones and different stories and different characters and different creative people that are behind it.
No doubt
What
about
Leslie Headland has to tell a story and to take you through her narrative is very different than Dave Filoni. And going back to that New York Times article, that was one of the things that Kathleen Kennedy actually hired her for. She had read one of Leslie Headland's short stories about her and her sister's, estranged relationship. And she said, I like this, do this with Star Wars. And Leslie wrote an outline or, a script for a Star Wars show. And she said, this is a great Star Wars story, but I want your Star Wars story.
Mm-hmm.
So I think everybody kind of needs to go into it realizing this is going to be different and that's okay. So I just look forward to different. I look forward to not like there's this excitement with me going back to what I was saying is that I don't know and that's okay.
Yeah. And, you don't need to create genres. Like this is a Star Wars show that is just going to happen to have a mystery involved in it. And I love mysteries. I've always loved those types of movies or shows and stuff. So I'm very excited to sort of play detective because I love watching things and, playing detective as I watch along and getting these little hints. And then like, this will be a great show, especially if whatever the mystery is fulfilling enough. And like you were saying, the word satisfying, if it's satisfying enough for people, this is the type of Star Wars show that you definitely would go back and rewatch to be like, oh, it was right in front of us the whole time. Did you see that scene? He was right there. And, I love those when you watch mysteries, then you go back and watch to like collect all the other clues that you missed when you finally know what the answer is. So this could very well be one of those rewatch shows, which could help the viewership for it. Because especially if they end, she said she told one complete story here, but there's going to be threads left open for sure for a season 2. We want to make sure we get that story, concluded or at least continuing. In terms of like, I know I said Master Soul's definitely a lock to survive. And I put everyone else sort of on the table of not making out here. But I'm going to throw this out there. I don't see how this series ends without some sort of tie or on screen. I'll just say this. We are going to see Darth Plagueis on screen for the first time in The Acolyte. Bang.
I thought Leslie said no, or is that Darth Bane?
Darth Bane.
She had said that he's going to be mentioned, but won't be in this season. That's what she said. So that's the thread. And then she also said that this show is prequels with EU references. That's in the High Republic. So if you put them into a pot, you've got a little bit of prequel, a little bit of EU, a whole lot of High Republic, mix it together.
I think a lot of the EU stuff is a lot of that witchcraft stuff that's going on. A lot of that possession and a lot of that stuff is in EU. I know I just from Wikipedia. Thanks, team.
Well, we also saw that in Ahsoka, and Leslie Headland said that one of the books that really brought her into Star Wars was Heir to the Empire.
Yes, and I believe the first book she used to make this show was the Star Wars Atlas. So I may have to dig into that a little bit. But yeah, I think Plagueis is a factor here for that sort of whole reason I said before about how, they get close and then Palpatine figures out how to really get it done. I think it would be awesome. I don't know that it has to happen in this season, but if they plan for a season 2, I think it's time. We need to see who crafted and shaped Palpatine into what he is, because people can be sick of Palpatine all they want. He doesn't have to be in this show, but to understand how the most evil person in the history of Star Wars got to be and were shaped into who he is, that's a very compelling story. And we've already heard about this guy, Darth Plagueis, through these canonical tales, mainly just that speech by Palpatine. And I know there's the EU novels and stuff, but I think it's time that this character needs to arrive on screen. What a better time! How's there a better time than this Sith story? And so maybe this masked person. What if the masked person is Plagueis? Because she said the Sith needs an apprentice in order to take on the Jedi, and she said the apprentice is the Acolyte. So what if? I don't know. What if Amandla's character isn't necessarily the Acolyte, but just someone who got twisted up in this dark magic? I don't know, but I can't help but think
they said the Acolyte isn't who we think it is. They've said that multiple times,
and people might get annoyed if it winds up being Plagueis, but man, that'd be so cool and so compelling and so important to us understanding Palpatine better. Versus like how they're trying to make us understand sequel trilogy Palpatine with all the science and cloning and stuff, like actually understanding how someone influenced him and taught him to be who he became, but also, of course, him learning from that person's mistakes. So I think that would be really smart to have that all tied in together. So my big bang, I guess, is that by the end of this show, I don't know if it's season 1 or not, Darth Plagueis is appearing on screen for the first time ever in The Acolyte.
That will be nuts.
Bang.
I don't think we have anything else to talk about with that.
No, yeah. And as the show goes on, because let's not forget, we're going to be going live every Wednesday night, 8:30 East on Aco Night. Subbing in for TRB Live, of course. TRB Live will be back after the run of the Acolyte, but Aco Night, it's going to be a nice sinister summer for us here at TRB, so join us on Wednesday nights, the day after each episode of the Acolyte airs, 8:30 East, right here on the channel and on your podcast feeds the following morning. We're doing another giveaway where we're going to give away a hint every week. sort of our own little mystery to go alongside with the ride of the mystery with the Acolyte, and then a grand prize will be revealed for the winner on that. Other giveaways, we're gonna have guests. It's gonna be a great time. Oh, and Lacey, why don't you tell them what we decided on for our rating scale for?
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about this yet. So, as you guys know, with the Mando fan show, love it, love the Mando fan show. Back in the day, hopefully we'll be back soon. We kicked it off with the Pedro Pascal face scale. So we have to continue that on, and there were a couple different options. You know, you could do Master Soul, Lee Jung Jae. We're landing on Kel Naka. We're doing a Kel Naka face scale for Jonas, and just because he's a Wookiee Jedi and dreams come true, we're doing a Kel Naka scale. So now I got to find a Kel Naka image that I like.
So get ready to rate the episodes with us. If you're a patron, of course, we'll be asking you on Patreon and giving your scores and your comments, as we always do on these shows. But get ready to rate each episode of The Acolyte using the Kel Naka scale, which is ultimately in the spirit of fun, but also we like to gauge how we feel about these episodes. But yeah, I don't have much else to throw out there for speculation. We will be speculating more every week as new episodes come out and the story unravels. But Lacey, do you have anything else before we hear from them?
Nope. Let's get into resistance transmissions. All right, guys, resistance transmissions. For those of you that don't know, because it's been a little bit since we've done this segment, this is where you guys get to be on the show and give us some answers. So every once in a while, I used to say every week, but every once in a while, John puts up a crazy, wacky situation on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And you guys give your answers and we discuss them on the show. And I don't know what the scenario situation is. And I don't know what you guys said. And it's a good time because sometimes you guys catch me off guard. And that's the fun of it. So the scenario is last shot. Let's give our final predictions. Be they popular, new, bold, which is in caps, light, fun. Let's hear them all. Why did I say it that way? Let's hear them all. That includes all of you out there in TRB land. Let them fly. We'll also be reading, and then it cuts off. So I'm assuming you just didn't copy and paste the whole tweet in there. John.
You know what's funny about that? I love when we do a live show. You're reading my copy for the discussion.
Oh.
So how about that?
Woof. All right. Never mind. Resistance transmissions. Do you have any predictions for the Acolyte?
Take two.
That's it. That's a scenario. Oh my god. We're starting off hot. All right. First up is Neil at Lowry. Neil, what up, Neil? He says it'll be different, but still have that Star Wars feel. I'm not even gonna lie, Neil. I've seen this phrase like 26 times this week. It's different, but still Star Wars. People love that phrase.
Yellow, different.
Next is Tom Rose at Towhead81. Said, I predict this will be the Andor for Jedi storytelling, good acting and good writing, probably decisive. Is that decisive? Yeah. But considered to be the Andor style storytelling and quality.
Unless you meant divisive. But...
maybe divisive. Mr. Doctor at Dale Puma as Dale said Vernestra is the dark sider. Ooh. With her lightsaber whip. Did we talk about the lightsaber whip? How do you feel about it?
The light whip, we talked about it last week.
Light whip. I'm okay with it. I'm all right. I'm not crazy about it, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Oh my God. I'm so sorry to our audio listeners.
If you don't like the light whip, you could just get out.
You clearly don't know Luke Skywalker. What? Sir?
Like, you got the people who hate everything over here, and then like the people who are like, you must love everything over here. And I'm just like, I just like to weave around and like what I like.
To weave around like a light whip?
Oh, I see. So maybe I'm the light whip. Yeah.
Bopping around, as John likes to say.
Be bopping and scatting.
It's fine. It's fine. All right.
Larry David, how do you feel about the light whip?
All right, Joey Sack is up at Joey Sack. What up, Joey? He said, my prediction is that the Jedi who looks like me, I love that he's acknowledging that. John has been saying for like 4 weeks, he's like, yo, this Jedi in the Acolyte looks just like Joey Sack.
He does look like Joey
Joey's
Sack.
like, all right, I guess it does. Is probably not going to make it out of the first 2 episodes in One Piece. Joey's like, finally, I see someone that represents me in Star Wars, but he dies. He says, in all seriousness, I think that whatever happened to the Jedi is what caused Kelnaka to go off on his own. Thinking
I like
face.
that. Yeah, that's good.
You mean when Kelnaka was naked? I still find that very jarring. They have him in that like robe the whole time, and then the poster that they're like, look at this Star Wars show. It's like him naked, so that the normal person will be like, hey, it's Chewbacca. And you're like, no, that's not Chewbacca.
Yeah, Chewie always walks around naked.
He does. Walking carpet.
Except on Life Day. He's like, get my red robe. The one day I wear clothes.
I'm gonna class it up.
Yeah.
Class it up today.
Yeah.
Gets fancy.
If you don't like the Star Wars Holiday Special, you can get out.
What's happening? It's so true, though. I feel like I'm in a comment section. All right. You can get out. Sean Santarude. Santarude at Rude Cold. What up, Sean? He said the Acolyte is none other than Nubs. Could you imagine?
Nubs? The little blue teddy bear from Young Jedi Adventures?
But it has to be the one that they've been putting a dude in at events. Like the one that's like,
oh, they have a big like costume Nubs guy.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's like a big bear, and it's just its eyes are like this, and it's like, and so they're like, come take a picture with Nubs, and Nubs is just if you don't like Nubs, you get out.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right, Benjamin had Shinsi Beatnik. Okay. Oh my god. My resistance transmissions is that the Jedi will, with the capital, all capitals, meet a Sith, and not all capitals. All of those who see will end up dying.
Oh, so I see what they're saying. They're saying, so these Jedi are going to encounter a Sith, and some are going to live to tell about it. Is what he's saying.
Oh, and that's how the story gets passed around.
I think that's for sure happening, because I think Master Soul is surviving this whole series. So depends on what he sees and what he's willing to share, and maybe that becomes part of the conflict of the story. And maybe the Jedi start not trusting each other because like they see things that others didn't, and Interesting.
Next up is Aaron Gould at I Am Aaron Gould. Remember when I thought Aaron was a girl?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a throwback. What up, Aaron?
Well, he came up to us in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Aaron said Jedi Benoit. Right? Benoit?
Yeah.
Blanc.
You think it's Benoit?
No.
Oh.
It's French.
Right.
Will be in the final episode to solve the mystery and unveil the murderer. That'd actually be funny, but people would be so mad.
Directed by Ryan Johnson.
Imagine if they're like, we brought in Ryan for the last episode. We thought he'd put a really good spin on the episode.
Heads just go.
If you don't like Ryan Johnson, you can. Okay. Chris Van de Mail. I always slaughter your name, Chris. I'm so sorry. At Carbonite Chris. What up, Chris? Where's my Han Solo man? He said a gif of Joey Tribbiani eating pizza. I don't know what.
So Joey Tribbiani is a character on this TV show Friends, and there's these animated images that they call GIFs. Some people call them GIFs, and usually it's a clip of something that has happened before on television. And this one happened to be this Joey character from the show Friends eating pizza.
So I know Joey.
Oh.
I don't know Joey's last name. I have never liked Friends. I never watched Friends. I understand that I understand. I understand. I mean, accurate. I understand that Joey is eating pizza and it's a GIF. I don't know who Tribbiani is, but now I do.
Yeah.
You know, the more you know. Do 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 do.
Right.
Like, anyway,
but Christine's
what a way to end.
That I have won the bet, and
I mean, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm okay with it.
All right. We better get out of here. I got accused of mansplaining to you in the comments. I just saw.
Oh, everybody calm down.
Is it what happened to just regular explaining? Was I not just regular explaining?
I mean, there's definitely mansplaining, but then there's also lady splaining because I do that a lot to people unknowingly. I like going
Lacey,
to tangents.
You're so dumb. Let me talk to you about Friends.
I mean, accurate.
Is that it?
Yes, and also I am delivering a Hawaiian pizza to John.
Yeah, okay. You can get out.
I told him that. What was it? You text me one day and you're like, it's happening. And I just told him, I'm giving you a Hawaiian pizza. I don't know why you're so pumped. And he was just like, wow, that is the ultimate play that I didn't even consider.
Yeah, because you know what happens to cured meats when they're put on car paint?
You better not.
Peels the paint right off.
That's my baby.
I'm going to turn your car into a Dr. Seuss car with all those slices of ham I'm going to throw on your car on your way out.
Why is it a Dr. Seuss car?
It's going to look all polka dotted when you peel those slices of ham off your car.
I thought you were making a reference to green eggs and ham.
No.
I was like, but the ham is green. That's what I thought in my head when you said that.
All right. That's it, right?
Yes, that's it.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening and watching and being a part of TRB. We had a great time. Hope you did too. Make sure you spread the word about Aco Night. Again, Wednesday nights live, youtube.com/@TRB podcasts, 8:30 East. We're talking about the Acolyte each episode, each week, live giveaways, guests, contests, mysteries, all that good stuff. It's going to be a sinister summer. I try to coin that phrase and I can't even say it.
You really did try to coin it. I saw you using that hashtag and I was like, oh, he's trying. He's doing something. He's let him cook, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Make sure you spread the word, tell your friends, and let's have a good time with that. And also just make sure you check out our podcast on your favorite podcast app. And of course, our other podcast, Nerdy and Nice, where we're going to nerd out about all the other things we love outside of a galaxy far, far away. So follow Nerdy and Nice on your favorite podcast apps as well. And of course, you get that video version right here on the TRB YouTube channel. The Patreon.
Please leave reviews.
Yes,
let us know how we're doing.
Reviews.
Share the episode with your favorite moments, stuff like that.
Yes. And somebody, I mean, they're probably not listening anymore, but somebody rated us on Apple and it was like the sweetest, most amazing review. But I think they accidentally hit 3 stars.
You can edit
on Nerdy and Nice. So, yeah, if you could fix that, that'd be nice. But anyway, Patreon, we talked about it before. If you're able to support us, thank you. A lot of exclusive content heading to that page as well every week. Bonus mini episodes, at least 2 a week, and a lot of other great stuff too. So go check out the tiers, patreon.com/@TRB podcasts. /TRB podcasts. Thank you. Special shout out to the Generals and Spice Runners. The movie star generals are Carmelo, John Reese, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Danny, Mike Ramori, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, and Colin Cormier. Also, congrats to Dave Hornack. Speaking of pizza, Dave has opened a 3rd restaurant that is a wood-fired pizza place in Ohio. So congrats to you, Dave.
Road trip.
I got to tell you, that's going to be your spot that I check out if I make it back out there soon. So
road trip.
The Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gellner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and the Fort Worthian, and all of our patrons, all of our listeners, all of our supporters. Thank you for being a part of TRB. Lacey, where can people find you?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gillerin or at this is Lacey. It's Lacey Gillerin on TikTok. Whoa, mama. You can also follow us on Nerdy and Nice Pod, which is good. Like I said before, please leave reviews. Let us know how we're doing. Share the show. The best way that we can grow and grow our community here is through your thoughts, feelings, happy moments, experiences. Share pictures with us that you took with, some of our merch or, it's weird seeing your hat turned around, John. It's really throwing me off.
I think someone asked to see it, so I just turned it around.
Oh, it's like throwing me off. You look like Joe from You.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look her up on Facebook, and then I'm gonna go to her coffee shop.
God, don't like that. So, yeah, we really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. And we're gonna start sharing reviews and stuff online to give you guys a shout out. We're pumped.
Yes. For me, Johnny Hoey on X for the most part. And I have a nostalgic movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We just put out an episode today on Point Break. So if you like Keanu and Swayze, check that out. Then, yeah, me and Lacey back at it with you Monday for Nerdy and Nice. We're going to be talking all the Beetlejuice stuff coming out, more Glenn Powell stuff. It's going to be Batman. A lot of crazy stuff coming on Nerdy and Nice Monday. And what a way to kick off the week than being nerds with us there. But thank you to everybody for being with us here on TRB. And until Wednesday, so less than a week, with the debut of Aco Night, after we've all seen 2 episodes of the Acolyte. Let's have a great time. So for me and Lacey here at TRB, until next time, we will see you around, kids.